From Washington, this is VOA News. In France, a car chase is on as suspects in the shooting are on the move, and searchers detect signals from AirAsia's black boxes. I'm Francis Alonzo reporting from Washington. A car chase is underway as French security officials say two suspects in the storming of a satirical French newspaper that left 12 people dead have stolen a car and are on the move again. The two brothers with Al-Qaeda sympathies stole a Peugeot on Friday morning in a town about 50 kilometers northeast of Paris. Shots reportedly were fired. Thousands of French security forces have mobilized to find the brothers after the attack on the Charlie Hebdo offices on Wednesday. You can read more details on this story at voanews.com. In Sri Lanka, President Mahinda Rajapaksa's conceded defeat as the challenger, Maithripala Sirisena, consolidated an early lead in the presidential election. Anjana Pasricha reports.
Vote counting was still in progress Friday morning when President Rajapaksa left his official residence and told the opposition leader in parliament that he will bow to the wishes of the people and ensure a smooth transition of power. Sounds of celebration reverberated in the capital, Colombo, as supporters of the man who will be the new president, Maithripala Sirisena, set off firecrackers. 63-year-old Mr. Sirisena, who was a top minister in the Rajapaksa government, had quit the president's party to challenge him. He heads a diverse coalition of parties that range from ethnic, religious, Marxist and centre-right, which backed him during the campaign. Anjana Pasricha for VOA News, New Delhi.
Indonesian authorities have detected ping signals from the black boxes of AirAsia Flight 8501. An official said today that they appear to be coming from an area separate from the tail. VOA News. German Chancellor Angela Merkel says sanctions imposed by the European Union on Russia for supporting separatists in eastern Ukraine can be lifted if Moscow complies with an agreement it signed 4 months ago.
Das Problem ist nur, dass das Minsker Abkommen seit September abgeschlossen ist.
She says the only problem is that the Minsk agreements were last September, but unfortunately, many points aren't being respected. We've seen some progress, especially with the ceasefire that continues, but that truce remains fragile. That's why the Minsk agreement should be respected entirely implemented. Ms. Merkel's comments came during a joint news conference in Berlin with the Ukrainian Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk, who said Russia has reneged on the Minsk agreement. The U.S. Defense Department is closing a major air base in England and 14 smaller sites across Europe as part of a reorganization of U.S. forces. VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb reports.
The Pentagon says the reorganization will save the U.S. government about $500 million. Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Security Affairs, Derek Chollet, says the move will lead to more efficient use of resources.
These decisions will produce savings that will enable us to maintain a robust force presence in Europe.
The United States is closing military operations northeast of London at RAF Mildenhall, resulting in a slight decrease in American force levels in the region. The major base closure is offset in part by plans to station 2 squadrons of F-35 fighter jets at England's RAF Lakenheath. The Pentagon says the move will bring new opportunities for collaboration between the two nations. Carla Babb, VOA News, The Pentagon.
Top-level talks on normalizing relations between the United States and Cuba for the first time in more than 50 years are set to open in Havana January 21st. A State Department spokeswoman, Jen Psaki, said the U.S. will take advantage of previously scheduled migration talks by adding discussions on reestablishing diplomatic ties.
Assistant Secretary Jacobson will lead the delegation, of course, the decision to reestablish diplomatic relations is certainly going to be a topic of that, and of course issues surrounding that, including the reopening of embassies, requiring certain logistical arrangements, embassy operations, staffing, visa issues would also be topics as well.
Meanwhile, Cuba has freed a political prisoner and at least 4 others that were on a list of 53 that the United States says Cuba has agreed to release. Several others were freed earlier this week. However, the State Department has not named them or said exactly how many have been let go. I'm Francis Alonzo in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.